2 beers, all right? One for me, one for me mate.
One for your mate, you mad bugger.
The Untold Stories of Crocodile Dundee, 1986. He came from the heart of the Australian outback, a rugged man who suddenly found himself under the blinding lights of New York City. He didn't know what a bagel was, but he could tell you exactly which snake could kill you fastest. The making of this legendary film carries far too many layers to be caught on camera. So these are 4 untold stories from Crocodile Dundee that you probably missed. Hit the subscribe button right now, because the stories you are about to hear may be wilder than the ones that made it on screen.
2:20. We better get started.
2:20.
Yeah, yes. That's the way that we do it in the bush.
A real-life Mick Dundee? For years, people believed Mick Dundee was based on a real man, and Rod Ansell almost confirmed it as well. He was an Australian bushman, famous for his 1977 survival story. After a crocodile capsized his boat, Ansell spent weeks stranded in the Northern Territory, drinking cow's blood and hunting to stay alive. When Paul Hogan's Crocodile Dundee hit theaters, many assumed Ansell was the real inspiration. He even claimed that Hogan had told him so during an interview. However, Hogan denied that one man inspired the character. He said Dundee was a blend of Australian traits, which is fair because you'd need at least 3 Australians to fit all that chaos into one body. Ansell's story ended tragically in 1999 when he died in a violent shootout with police. Indeed, a dark twist to a man once celebrated as a real-life Dundee. Do you like learning about the inspirations of well-acclaimed characters in films? Subscribe now, and we will keep you updated about all your favorites.
Oh, it's a King Brown.
Poisonous?
Oh, you're deadly. Not bad eating, but always give me gas.
Hogan had a stroke on set. Did you know that Paul Hogan suffered a mild stroke during production? Passionate about his health and fitness goals, he followed a strict weightlifting routine even at 46. But things went downhill when a heavy dumbbell cost him almost everything, and he experienced a cerebral hemorrhage caused by strain. Hogan brushed off the incident in interviews, calling it bad timing rather than stress. He joked that if he rested too much, he'd just turn into a lazy zombie, which won't do any good considering he was already lazy enough. Despite the humor, it was a serious scare. Doctors stabilized him quickly, and he was able to return to filming as if nothing had happened at all. Later, he said that the blood clot had hit a part of his brain that he didn't use much anyway. A health scare like that usually halts production entirely. But Hogan's resilience kept the cameras rolling. It was so serious that the Australian Prime Minister sent him his best wishes. So, when you see Mick Dundee wrestling crocodiles or surviving the wild, remember that the actor himself had already proved himself in a real-life catastrophe that the cameras never recorded.
So Neb's a real city boy, but his dad's a tribal elder.
Oh, no, you can't take my photograph.
I'm sorry. You believe it'll take your spirit away?
No, you got a lens cap on.
Kakadu, huts, and prop trouble. The outback scenes were filmed in Kakadu National Park, a massive expanse of wilderness in the Northern Territory, roughly the size of Germany. With no major towns or hotels nearby, the cast and crew had to live in bush huts, surrounded by the sounds of insects, wild buffalo, and a bunch of crocodiles that gave them company. To ensure everyone's safety, armed guards were appointed to stand outside the huts at night and be ready in case any real crocs wandered too close. Producer John Cornell didn't want any cast member to feel low, so he made sure the team had beer supplies to keep morale high. Life on set was raw and unpredictable, and that's exactly what brought us the cinematic authenticity you can feel in every scene. While we are discussing what happened behind the scenes, let's not forget how much Paul Hogan wanted to shoot with a real crocodile. Remember the crocodile attack scene? That's where he wanted real-life close-ups, but the producers vetoed the idea for safety purposes. So, the scene featuring Sue was entirely mechanical. The animatronic crocodile cost about $45,000 to build and was operated by a team of technicians, but not all crocodiles were mechanical. One of the crocodiles used in the film was a saltwater croc named Bert. Bert was captured from the Reynolds River in 1980 and later used in the movie. His real movements were filmed for certain shots and gave them a level of realism in sequences involving crocodile behavior, especially the motion of a croc bursting from the water in a rescue scene. Bert lived for many decades after filming, eventually becoming an icon in his own right at Crocosaurus Cove in Darwin, where he weighed about 700 kilograms and measured over 16 feet in length. Apart from the crocodiles, the Asian water buffalo was also a real animal that was used as a prop. Weighing 2,000 pounds with horns that stretched 8 feet wide, yet Charlie the buffalo refused to move. There was nothing anyone could do about it. The filming completely stopped once, and Hogan joked that the animal simply stared at him, like it was daring him to try something. He also claimed to understand the buffalo, as he hated working in the heat as well. The crew had no choice but to wait for hours until the buffalo decided to cooperate. Subscribe to the channel and stay tuned if you want to learn about more pet animals and their names from the sets of Hollywood classics.
Some nitwits put 2 dunnies in here.
1 dunny, 1 bidet.
Bidet.
From Outback to the big city. When the filming began, Paul Hogan was determined that his character would feel like a real bushman and not a Hollywood invention. He insisted that Dundee's crocodile skin hat and massive knife were the only truly authentic props he needed. Everything else was created by the costume department to match the life of a man who had spent years surviving in the wild. The film's wardrobe team, led by Australian costume designer Annie Marshall, worked with meticulous care to ensure every detail reflected Dundee's rugged authenticity. Marshall spent weeks sourcing and distressing clothing so that it looked lived in, scuffed, and sun-faded from years under the harsh Northern Territory sun. The goal was not just to make Paul Hogan look tough, but to make him believable as someone who belonged to the untamed landscape he came from. Hogan had strong opinions about every piece and often requested some adjustments to make them look less polished. He once joked that Dundee should look like he wrestled a crocodile before breakfast and still smelled like it by lunch. Do you remember the New York City scenes where Mick Dundee strolls confidently through the crowded streets and audiences instantly understood who he was before he said a word? That visual storytelling was crafted through clothing and character design and became one of the film's greatest strengths. This is where a long-standing fan rumor comes in. Some claim that one of Dundee's boots had to be fixed with a smear of Vegemite before filming a scene in the subway. It's a fun story that perfectly fits the film's cheeky Australian spirit, but no verified production records confirm it ever happened. What is true, however, is that the costume team paid close attention to the smallest imperfection. Every scuff, stain, and thread told part of Dundee's journey and ensured that he never looked like a movie star, merely pretending to rough it.
Ain't no crocodiles out there, but a fast-moving Chevy sure make a mess of you.
Why did Fox refuse? Despite its fame today, Crocodile Dundee wasn't always seen as a sure success. When filming was wrapped in 1986, producer John Cornell flew to Los Angeles in the hopes of securing a major U.S. distributor. During a meeting at 20th Century Fox, executives screened just 20 minutes of the film before abruptly stopping. One executive reportedly checked his watch, sighed, and declared the movie too Australian to ever connect with American audiences. Cornell walked out disappointed and convinced that his dream of a U.S. release was over. Despite this humiliation, he soon got the last laugh when Paramount Pictures bought the U.S. distribution rights and the movie became a massive hit. But American audiences still had one complaint. The original Australian cut included thick slang and humor that many Americans didn't fully understand. To fix this, Paramount trimmed 7 minutes and redubbed several lines with simplified English. They even added quotation marks around crocodile in the title to make it clear that it was a nickname instead of a literal reptile reference. Another subtle change was in pacing. The Australian version lingered on quieter outback moments to capture atmosphere, while the American cut moved faster, emphasizing Dundee's charm and the romantic chemistry between Paul Hogan and Linda Kozlowski. That careful editing made it easier for audiences unfamiliar with Australian culture to follow along without losing the spirit of the original film. When it finally hit U.S. theaters in September 1986, the film exploded. It stayed in the top 10 for 6 months, earned over $328 million worldwide, and became the highest-grossing non-U.S. film of its time. Apparently, charm, humor, and a giant knife are universal languages which 20th Century Fox did not consider.
Well, hell, we might just have to give you one for free.
Yeah. One what?
The film proved that when authenticity is delivered with heart and humor, it could cross every border imaginable. This is how Crocodile Dundee proved the power of authenticity in the world of Hollywood blockbusters. Whether it was the wild heart of Australia or the glittering flares of New York, The film never stopped being legendary, and if these stories made you grin wider than a croc at feeding time, hit subscribe now.